And welcome back, Hard Hats. It's the big guy and it's the Grand Poobah. We've been absent for a couple weeks. Unfortunately, life takes hold of us. Mikey's getting married soon, looking to get married in September. So make sure you
Yep.
drop by Albany. He just told me the grand plans. The venue is his house. So if you could figure out where he lives, go crash the party.
Oh yeah,
That's the
absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
that's exactly what we want to do. And speaking of crashing parties, we had a great match last week, beating Rugby ATL. For those of you that didn't know, so prior to the match, all we needed to do was score a bonus point to solidify our place in the playoffs. And we did more than that. We scored our 5 bonus point win against a really hard ATL opponent. I do feel though as though ATL has been struggling. We're talking about that match, and at one point we were down to 13 men, and ATL really couldn't convert. And it seemed as though every time they scored, we answered. We were down to 14 men, 2 other points, I believe, in that match. I think there was 4 yellow cards given out for the match for New York. So obviously we need to deal with the discipline issues. Four yellow cards, regardless if you get a 5 point bonus win, is completely unacceptable because you play like that against somebody else on a day that they're playing better, and the outcome's a little bit different. What you did notice though, Mikey, is a bunch of guys coming back and a bunch of guys injured. Nate Brakely not in the lineup. I know he had an injured ankle. Manate Akui, same thing, had a little nail. So they actually had to bring in Quinn Nawadi covering over as a loose forward. Quinn this year has now played, I believe, center wing. I don't think he actually came in for last week's match at loose forward, but he was there to cover. As you had guys like Brad Tucker and Brendan O'Connor who could cover that lock if we needed to, with Hamish Dalzell and Charlie Hewitt starting with no real backup, as we know. Locks. There's Brad, Kara, Brendan, undersized locks. You know what I mean? Not to bend you, undersized locks. That's not a knock on them. God doesn't. God gives you height. You can't teach it. But per what you really need, they're kind of undersized, but they could do a serviceable job. Not that I felt we really needed it. I don't. We scored on a set piece. Dylan Fawcett scoring on a rolling ball as he does. I just felt we had a bunch of free flowing play. I felt like we were dominant in possession. I felt like our defense was really working to stop ATL, and especially former Rooney Rooster Will Leonard, who was a monster in that match. Really hard charging, straight running center, as we know and love him. But he was making some breaks and really putting it on us, and good on the boys for really getting in there and tackling, Mike.
Yeah, I feel like this team it's been a tale of two teams this whole season. When they show up and they play hard, and then they play good defense and get in your face, and they really force you to score tries and make them break them down, which is something that happened this weekend. But then there's other weekends where you're like, oh, did they come even to play? And so past 2 games really came to play against the Jackals and against Rugby ATL. Good to see them do that. It was a must. I feel like it was a must win, even if we said, oh, they only needed 1 point, you could have got it, just but the tries, wins really matter. Building up and piling on wins really matters going into that final stretch of the season, which we are at this point, which is crazy to believe.
I know.
So a win right now, I think was the best thing we needed for the team. And then going into a home game against a strong Utah team, it's going to definitely, I think, hopefully elevate us to that next level going into the playoffs.
And the scary thing about that Utah team, and I'll say it, and I said it on the rant that's coming out in about an hour. I always feel like when you're dealing with somebody who has this, I call it the juice. And what I mean by that is you had a Utah team who had their hopes dashed by losing to a tough Chicago Hounds team. And it was a away match for the Hounds. It was a home match for Utah, and Utah is very tough to play at Zion Bank Stadium. And Chicago coming in with a 2-win team, almost beating us on a missed kick. And I thought that was the best game they played was against us, even though we were kind of lackluster.
Yep.
They kind of opened up their playbook and let it ride, and that's how they were so successful against us. But now we're talking about them beating Utah at home, not only at home in their special jerseys, but then knocking them out of the playoff contention. That knocked Utah out. So there's two things Utah can do. They can come in and they're going to want revenge. They're going to want revenge on us, or they're going to be playing some developmental guys. In my opinion, I think those are the only. I don't think there's an in between on that. So the question is, can we survive the first 20 minutes of being punched in the mouth at home? Now we're at a home match. We usually play our best at home this season. Not the past 2 seasons is kind of flip-flopped, in my opinion. But what are we going to do to respond? It's our last home match. It's Pride Day. We have a great curtain raiser. Gotham Knights are coming into town again. They usually are the team that come in for the curtain raiser during Pride Day, and they're playing the Chicago Dragons Rugby Football Club. Classic historically gay clubs playing each other on Pride Day rather. It's a day game. But again, are we going to see Jack Heighton starting at 10 for us? What are we going to see starting at 9? I don't think Eamon Matthews is cleared to play. Johnny Powers out for the season. I believe Benja is also out for the season from what I've seen and heard. Nate Brakely, I believe, will be back. Don't think he's going to play this week. Don't see a need for him to play. So maybe we'll see Quinn again moving up, or maybe we'll see somebody else moving in that place. Honestly, I got to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised, if they started Daquan Perry and put Butcher back in the 6, 7, or 8 spot. Move Kara over, something like that, right? We know Butcher can play 8 and then come in and play hooker. We know. You could flip it around. It depends also on our props, obviously, too. Caleb's been starting, but if they want to start, let's say Nick Mayhew and Chance, you bring in Parry and Tavita as subs, right? Then you can have Caleb start, or you can have Daquan start and Caleb come in, and that way you keep Butcher at 8. You know what I mean? Again, I'm just working out what they might do as far as helping out in the spaces they need help in. Again, maybe give Brendan O'Connor more minutes because he's been out for quite a while. But it's good to see Jack Heighton back in the lineup last week. Hopefully we're going to see him get some more minutes and get him back together for this one.
I was going to say, we're looking for that bonus point. We're looking for 1 point. I think you mentioned they need 1 point to get a home field first game against Old Glory. So we're locked in the playoffs automatically, no matter what.
Yeah. So if we get a bonus point, whether it's we lose by 7 or less, or we score 4, if Old Glory wins and gets a bonus point, it will come down to the first tiebreaker, which would be the win column. Old Glory has a tie. We would have one more win, and we would get that home match in 2 weeks from now. So as long as we score a bonus point, or Old Glory only wins by 4, or obviously loses. So the cards, but as we talked about last week, all we needed was a bonus point last week, and we felt really that wasn't enough. We want to keep up the momentum riding into the playoffs.
And yeah, the thing I was trying to build up to too is, we're playing against, a Utah team who potentially is looking to be spoiler, maybe looking to develop developmental team as well. We're not really sure. We'll see when they release, the lineups. Old Glory's playing, ATL. That ATL team could be looking to be, a spoiler for, Old Glory as well, or they might be throwing in, a developmental team. So it's a toss up. One team decides, hey, we're going to take it easy, and the other team, does it. They could play favorites. It could, it doesn't, there's so many different things that could happen. But I do find it interesting that it's two teams looking to get that second spot are now playing two teams that just lost out on the playoffs this prior week. And so maybe, both teams looking to be spoiler, looking for, 2 good games. Maybe we eke out a win. Maybe Old Glory doesn't. Mm-hmm. We're not really sure. Anything could happen.
Absolutely. And, we talk about Eamon Matthews probably not being able to be selected, but he was nominated for this year's Marcus Callaway Community Impact Award, which is presented by Fastenal. It's named for the late S. Marcus Callaway. He's a former chairman and majority owner of Rugby ATL before it was purchased. The 2023 S. Marcus Callaway Community Impact Award is awarded to the player who shows passion, excellence, and integrity on and off the field, inspires others to action, shows strength and character, aids those less fortunate, and embraces the core values of rugby while displaying solidarity, discipline, and respect. And like we said, the nominee for the New York Ironworkers is our buddy Eamon Matthews. Eamon, currently does a lot of charitable work, and he works with a lot of the Xavier boys and youth programs with Stephen Lewis. So it's no surprise to me that he was our nominee this year for the S. Marcus Calloway Award, and hopefully he will be awarded that. That presentation happens at the championship, so hopefully we're in the championship in Chicago, and Eamon's getting that while we're lifting the shield for the second year in a row. Also talking about awards this past week, Player of the Week, the Sheriff Caleb Geiger coming in with his first MLR Player of the Week honor for his career. He's been playing great. He slid in at tight head prop with pretty much no experience, which from a guy who is a prop is that's rough. Coming in, playing, alongside Dylan Fawcett, learning the ins and outs of propping. And it's funny, Lerone White I consider him a good friend of mine. Him and Caleb were going head to head in the Chicago match, and Caleb said that was the first time he was realizing that after the moment after they came together and they bound, that Lerone was putting his foot out. So a good prop will put his foot out to start to turn you a little bit, especially if the referee's not on that side. And this was like the third or fourth match Caleb was propping a tight head. He's like, I actually felt the movement of his foot, like him. I realized what that movement was, that he was kicking his foot out to try and turn me so I could be prepared for it, versus the last couple matches it was a surprise to him when it happened. And those are the things that you can't really train for. You just have to get the experience for, especially playing opposition, because you really don't get that experience in practice, because in practice you're both trying to stay straight, right? You're trying to do it right. But obviously in the game, in the dark arts, there's some cheekiness to it. So it was just interesting. And listen, the Roma is a good prop, and I'm all for guys using the cheekiness and the dark arts to get the edge. You know what I mean? That's the name of the game. But it was interesting. He picked it up in only 3 or 4 matches. Usually it takes a little more than that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, yeah, like you mentioned, the dark arts, back in the day, I'd like to say, back in the day, but before all these, different scrum cadences, when I was learning, we used to have, an older alumni show up and be like, all right, here's what forwards, this is the dark arts practice. I'm going to teach you, what to do in the scrum. I'll tell you what to get away with. I'll tell you, what you can't get away with. We're not here to hurt anybody. We're just here to give you, an advantage, a little body position here, a little foot there, make it easier, because, back in the day when you actually could push, in a scrum, mm-hmm. and, really move around, that was, stuff that was needed. Less so now, but it's good. One, it's good to see Rome's doing it, because I always love the dark arts. That was always one of my favorite things to see forwards, be able to do. And two, it's good. Yeah. Good to see that, Caleb's picking it up quick. He's learning. He's definitely become a stalwart, and, he is, part of the backbone of this team, mm-hmm. being able to, go anywhere in that front row and slide in basically, with no, drop in skill, really. Let's be honest. Mm-hmm. He's getting to that point where he's on, on par with, Butch, Chance, all of them. So it's good to see that he's improving.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, the improvement for everybody this year, I think it has been everybody's goal. We talked about them, obviously everybody's goal is to make it there, but since we were there last year, they wanted to make sure that we can make it back there. And you see guys like Brooklyn Hardiger coming in and sealing the show in the past couple of weeks, getting some really good dying down some really good tries as he speeds away from defense when he gets into that open field. And he's another guy who's been brought on, and he came back, Brooklyn Story coming back off of 2 catastrophic knee injuries to come back and start to really, get it done. But again, we're talking about discipline. We've had ill discipline this entire year. I think it was the first Pago Heine got tagged for a high tackle. They deemed it a yellow card. It was too high, but it wasn't to the head. Then I believe the next card was actually against Brendan O'Connor, and he got binned for repeated infringements to the line. But it's funny because Atlanta scored a try and it came back because the TMO decided that Jason Emery had been blocked while trying to make the tackle. Knock on wood, that was a good one for us. Kara Pryor, I believe, gets the sin bin next right when we come back to halftime, which always kills momentum for collapsing a maul. And then I believe Nick Mayhew got a penalty for he felt he collapsed the scrum on purpose, or wasn't holding his weight and got a yellow card for that, which was interesting. But the DC kind of went with a calculated risk. They kind of played like their second string guys, especially in the front row, against a hot, big booming Houston team. And the question is, why that decision? Because now New York is in the driver's seat to make sure and get that home field advantage. I mean, they came here. I think we beat them 43-8 at home last time. So
let me check. Hold on. It was early on in the season, and it was, oh my gosh, 34-8.
34-8, excuse me. And then we went down there and we got blasted, unfortunately. But again, I think both matches, for DC playing us at home came off a bye week, and then for us going down there, I think we had 11 guys in injured reserve. So I think it was mostly just, again, the lack of juice rather. But calculated risk for DC kind of to play on a Friday and not really put in their starters. Interesting.
Maybe hoping that we don't eke out a win against Utah this week, and they maybe can eke out a win against Atlanta, and then who knows, or maybe saving players for the playoffs.
I mean, I understand saving players. Yeah, I'm definitely all about saving players for big games and stuff like that when you can, and you take these tactical and calculated risks. But I just felt like in that circumstance, the second to last week, like in my opinion, it's always like if you can make your best movement forward in the points the week of and go 1-0 that week, and then say, okay, well, if I go 1-0 and somebody has to slip up the last week, so be it. But to kind of do it the second, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know, it just doesn't make sense, So we're almost going to be out of time. So again, we're going. We have Utah at home. Unfortunately, the big guy won't be there. I'll be. I'm taking my father-in-law camping for Father's Day with the kids and my wife and my sister-in-law and her husband. We're gonna have a fun time. So shout out to the Hard Hats. Oh, real quick. So Hard Hats. If you're a 2023 season ticket holder, 2024 season tickets are available. You have until July 31st to claim your spot. If you went and you purchased your ticket, right, when you go and look up your pass online, you're not going to see the 2023 pass. You go to upcoming events, and it'll show you your ticket for this week's game against Utah. So just so there's no confusion, it won't be in the passes. It'll be in the upcoming events. Secondly, of course, we want to go to Alternative Medicine Brewery for the post-match social. That's where we've been having the post-match social. It's about a 3-minute drive from the stadium. Carpool. It's directly across the street from Mount Vernon East train station. So those people who take the train, carpool with people who are going to go, and then you can hop right on the train right afterwards. It's actually on the New York City side. So you can just hop right on the train and get down to where you need to go if you're commuting. But please go check out Alternative Medicine Brewery. They've been really good to us this year. It's a great place to hang out. If you're going to a watch party, maybe at, I don't know, up in Albany, I wonder where that watch party might be, Mike. Maybe at the Excelsior Pub.
It'd be at the Excelsior Pub. If we're not doing it because it is Father's Day, I understand that people have got stuff to do. I think I'm doing stuff with my future father-in-law as well because I can't hang out with my dad who's down in South Carolina right now. But always good. Excelsior, they're always good to us. They'll put on the game whenever you ask them. They know how to put the game on, and there's always gonna be somebody there that's gonna be watching it. And if not, well, I could guarantee there's going to always be someone there that'll say, "Oh, rugby," and then they'll spark up a conversation with you. So it's always a good time.
Awesome, yeah. So get to the Excelsior if you're going to go check out the boys play. Before we go to our score lines, I do want to say so. 2 weeks ago at the home match against Dallas, Rick Salizo, it was Fan Appreciation Day, got on the mic and shouted out a couple people. Dylan Fawcett, after this past weekend in Atlanta, actually had his 77th cap in the MLR. This past match for Atlanta also was Sam Windsor's 75th match. So there's 3 players who have 75 matches, which include Dylan Fawcett and Sam Windsor now. And then it was also Chance Wingluski, Brad Tucker, and Charlie Hewitt also hit their 50th cap. And also congratulations to Jared Smallwood. Rick really shouted out Jared. Jared, if you don't know, has been the team manager for Rooney for a couple of years now, well, several years now. And he actually, as the team manager, got his 50th cap managing the team. And it's guys like Jared and, women like Elle who were in production and the merch maven. Shout out to Jazz. Go see her at the merch tent. They got the city jerseys at the merch tent for sale only at the stadium this season, this week. It's those people in those support roles that give us the fan experience we need and we want. And Jared works with the team day in and day out at practice, at match days, getting them ready, getting the pads ready, getting all their accommodations done. He's one of the hardest workers on the team. So I'm glad that the team could acknowledge his 50th cap. So congratulations to all those players. It's been a great season. We have our last home match here at Memorial Field. Again, Pride Night, Gotham FC taking on the Dragon RFC out of Chicago. Gotham Knights rather. So it's going to be a good one. So score lines, Mikey, what do you think the score line's going to be?
I'm thinking we get, that bonus point win. I think we get the tries. 4 tries against Utah. So I think we go into this, we go, all right, we got the home field. And I think it's going to be, a Rugby New York, we'll say 1 try win. I think, Utah, either, they're going to put their developmental guys in. And I think, looking at, their strength, I think they're still going to be a very good side. And if they don't put their developmental side in, they're going to have a very, strong side to begin with, anyway. And so I think it's going to be a very close game either way. So I'm going to say at least, Rugby New York by 5 with definitely maybe a bonus point or 2 bonus point win.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Mike. I'm going to go with the Mike Parazzini curse here. I'm going to say it's going to be a high scoring affair. I have a feeling Utah is going to be try and do some high flying stuff and let it rip because they don't have the pressure of making the playoffs. But I do think New York can match that. So I'm going to say New York by 4, but also getting the bonus point win because it's going to be high scoring. Mikey, thanks so much for being on. Hopefully we'll be around next Thursday to do another one of these as we go into a home match, hopefully, knock on wood, at Memorial Field. But as always, go Hard Hats. Check out Alternative Medicine Brewing after the match. Go check out where my boys and everybody tailgate. Bill, Rob, Jay. First floor and bottom floor, the Best Buy. So if you're looking at the entrance just behind you, it's in the parking garage is exactly where they'll be. Go hang out. We have plenty of food, adult beverages, things like that. We love you guys, and we'll see you at the next.